Don't spend your pennies without checking. A rare 1972 double die, 1976 misstrike, 1983 copper penny, or 1998 wide AM variety could turn 1 cent into thousands of dollars. The story of the US 1972 1-cent penny is a fascinating journey that proves that even the smallest denomination of American currency can carry with it immense history, intrigue, and in some rare cases, breathtaking value. The penny has always been a symbol of humble beginnings. It is the coin that most people ignore, the one often left on counters or tossed into jars, the one children collect in piggy banks without thinking much about it. Yet, with the 1972 penny, what seems so ordinary can actually be worth a staggering fortune if the coin is the right variety and in the right condition. To understand why the 1972 penny is so sought after by collectors, we need to take a step back into its background. In 1972, the United States Mint was still producing pennies with the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the obverse, the profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, remained unchanged from its debut in 1909. By this time, Lincoln's image had become one of the most familiar in American life, a steady presence on the smallest unit of U.S. coinage for over 60 years. The year 1972 was a time of dramatic change and tension in America. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. The Watergate scandal was starting to unfold in the political shadows, and cultural shifts were redefining the nation. In the midst of all this, the Mint was producing billions of pennies for everyday transactions. To most Americans, a penny was just a penny, necessary for commerce but hardly worth a second thought. However, in the massive production runs of 1972, something unusual happened. A batch of dies, the steel stamps used to strike the coin designs onto blank planchets, were improperly prepared. This error created what collectors now recognize as one of the most famous double die pennies in U.S. history. The 1972 double die penny is what transformed this year's coinage from ordinary pocket change into a potential treasure. On these error coins, the doubling effect is most visible in the inscriptions on the obverse side of the coin. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date 1972, show strong and clear doubling that can be seen with the naked eye. For collectors, this kind of error is not a mistake to be discarded. It is a rarity that adds incredible value. Imagine the thrill of finding one of these coins in circulation. You hand over $1 at the store, get your change back, and casually glance at your pennies. At first glance, they all look the same, but then one catches your eye. You look closer and realize that the lettering is doubled, bold, and distinct. Suddenly, you're not holding a coin worth 1 cent. You're holding a piece of American minting history that could be valued anywhere between $62,000 to $132,000 depending on condition and demand. That jump from 1 cent to 6 figures is the kind of story that captivates collectors and inspires people to dig through their change. Of course, not all 1972 pennies are double dies. Billions were minted without error, and those coins are generally worth only their face value or a few cents in circulated condition. But what sets the double die variety apart is how dramatic the doubling is. Many double die coins throughout history require magnification to confirm, but with the 1972 double die, the effect is so strong that it jumps out even to the untrained eye. That makes it one of the most desirable error coins, because even novice collectors can spot it if they know what to look for. Condition plays a crucial role in the value of these pennies. Like all coins, they are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A circulated 1972 double die penny with noticeable wear might be worth hundreds or thousands, but a pristine example with sharp details and no signs of handling can skyrocket into the tens of thousands, and in rare cases into the six-figure range. Professional grading services have authenticated and graded these coins, and auction houses have seen bidding wars push the value to levels that surprise even seasoned collectors. That is why coin roll hunters and everyday enthusiasts still dream of finding one in circulation today. Beyond the famous double die, other varieties and errors from 1972 also capture attention. There are minor doubling varieties, less dramatic but still collectible, as well as off-center strikes and other minting anomalies that add to the excitement of searching. Each one carries its own story, a testament to the imperfections of mass production that turn ordinary coins into unique artifacts. But what really makes the 1972 penny special is its symbolism. It reminds us that value is not always obvious. A penny, overlooked by most, can carry hidden worth that only reveals itself to those who take the time to look closely. It's a metaphor for life itself, where sometimes the smallest and simplest things hold the greatest surprises. Picture the journey of a single 1972 penny. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, it leaves the presses with a clear doubling error and is mixed with millions of ordinary coins. It's shipped out into the world, passed through hands at grocery stores, gas stations, and lunch counters. Perhaps it spends decades in circulation, gradually wearing down, or maybe it's tossed into a jar and forgotten for years. Then, decades later, someone sifting through old coins finds it, examines it carefully, and realizes what they have. That moment of discovery is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. The idea that hidden treasures are still out there, waiting to be found. The 1972 penny has also gained a special place in the hearts of collectors because of its accessibility. Unlike ancient coins or ultra-rare gold pieces that are out of reach for most people, the 1972 double-die penny is something that anyone could potentially stumble upon. It doesn't require wealth or privilege to find one. All it takes is curiosity, knowledge, and a willingness to look. That democratization of treasure hunting is part of what fuels the fascination with this coin. Even for those who never find the rare double die, the search itself is rewarding. Coin collecting connects people with history, with artistry, and with the thrill of the hunt. Every time someone picks up a magnifying glass to examine a penny from 1972, they are taking part in a tradition that stretches back generations. A tradition rooted in patience, passion, and discovery. So, the next time you find yourself with a handful of pennies, don't dismiss them. Look carefully, especially if you spot the year 1972. Pay attention to the details on Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, the date. That small effort could reveal a coin that is not just a relic of American history but also a life-changing discovery. The difference between 1 cent and a fortune lies in those tiny details. The story of the 1972 1-cent penny is proof that greatness can be hidden in plain sight. It's a reminder that the smallest things can carry the biggest surprises. For collectors, it is a coin of legend, one that embodies both the excitement of the hunt and the staggering potential rewards. With rare examples valued between $62,000 and $132,000, it stands as one of the most desirable pennies of the modern era. And the most thrilling part? It might still be sitting unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or a pocket right now, waiting for someone to take a closer look and realize just how extraordinary it really is. The 1976 1-cent penny from the United States might appear like the most ordinary coin you could come across in your pocket change. It's small, coppery in color, and carries that same familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln that Americans have seen since 1909. Most people pass it by without a second thought, tossing it into a jar or using it to even out a cash purchase. But hidden within the countless 1976 pennies minted are rare treasures that collectors chase with relentless passion. Some examples of this penny, because of their condition, rarity, or striking errors, have been known to sell for anywhere between $5,700 and an astonishing $122,000, turning what seems like the humblest of coins into a life-changing discovery. To really understand why the 1976 penny holds this fascination, we need to step back and think about the period when it was minted. 1976 wasn't just any year. It marked America's bicentennial, a celebration of 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Patriotic energy was in the air, and while special designs were released for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coin to commemorate the bicentennial, the penny itself retained the classic Lincoln design. At first, it might feel like the penny was left out of the celebration, but in many ways that makes it even more interesting. Because despite its unchanged look, the 1976 penny became part of a historic year in U.S. minting, linking it forever with that moment of national pride. On the obverse side of the 1976 penny, you'll find Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the design that has endured since the early 20th century. On the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial, flanked by the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum. At the bottom is the denomination, 1 cent. It's a design Americans grew up with, a design so familiar it's easy to forget the artistry and symbolism behind it. Every tiny detail, from the columns of the memorial to the barely visible statue of Lincoln seated inside, is a reminder of history captured in copper. Now, here's where things get fascinating. The U.S. Mint struck millions upon millions of these pennies in 1976 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. For most, their value remains exactly 1 cent. But among these vast numbers are coins that were struck with exceptional quality, coins preserved in near-perfect condition, and coins that came out with unusual errors during the minting process. These are the ones that turn heads at auctions and make collectors dig through rolls of pennies in search of hidden treasure. Think of it like this. If you were handed a handful of change at the grocery store and noticed a 1976 penny, chances are you'd toss it into a drawer without much thought. But what if that very penny had a double die error, where parts of the lettering or Lincoln's portrait appear slightly doubled? Or what if it had an off-center strike, leaving parts of the design cut off? Or maybe it was struck on the wrong planchet altogether, meaning it wasn't even supposed to exist in its current form. Suddenly, that little penny isn't just worth 1 cent, it could be worth thousands. And in some cases, with the rarest varieties and top-graded specimens, the value could soar all the way up to $122,000. Imagine the story. You're sitting at home, emptying out your pockets, and a coin you almost didn't notice catches your eye. You look at the date, 1976. Something about the details seems unusual. Maybe the strike is sharper than usual, or maybe the lettering looks doubled under the right light. You decide to look it up, and then you realize you could be holding something that's not just ordinary change but a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's the thrill that drives people to check every penny they come across, because that life-changing discovery might literally be sitting in the palm of your hand. Collectors prize the 1976 penny for different reasons. Some are drawn to its connection to the bicentennial year, making it part of a wider collection of coins tied to American history. Others are laser-focused on error varieties or high-grade mint state examples. A penny graded MS-67 or higher, with a flawless strike, pristine luster, and no noticeable imperfections, can command incredible prices because of its rarity. Remember, millions were made, but only a handful survive in that kind of perfect condition. That scarcity is what pushes collectors into competitive bidding, driving values higher and higher. Let's not forget about proof versions as well. Proof coins, struck with special dies on polished planchets, are made to stand out with mirror-like finishes and frosted designs. While most proof pennies from 1976 are affordable, a flawless proof with the right attributes or unusual characteristics can also become a collector's gem. In coin collecting, perfection is always rare, and rarity is always valuable. And then there are the error coins, the ones that keep collectors awake at night wondering what's still out there waiting to be found. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or coins struck on the wrong metal. These are the holy grails of the 1976 penny. Every error tells a story of the minting process, a moment when machines and human oversight didn't align, leaving behind a unique collectible. No two errors are exactly the same, which means every error coin is essentially one of a kind. That uniqueness, combined with demand, can easily place their value in the range of $5,700 to $122,000, depending on the nature and severity of the error. Picture the excitement of someone discovering such a coin. They might have picked up a roll of pennies from their local bank just for fun, searching for older coins. As they go through the roll one by one, they spot the date 1976. At first, it seems ordinary, but then they notice something unusual about the strike. Their heart skips a beat, and suddenly, they're holding what could be the find of a lifetime. That's the magic of coin collecting. It transforms the mundane into something extraordinary. The 1976 penny is also a coin that teaches us patience and curiosity. It encourages people to slow down and actually look at the coins they handle every day. In a world where pennies are often dismissed or even considered a nuisance, this coin reminds us that value is sometimes hidden in plain sight. The lesson is simple but powerful. Don't overlook the small things, because they might hold greater worth than you realize. It's not just about money, either. There's something deeply rewarding about connecting with history through coins. Every 1976 penny is a piece of the past, a tiny copper time capsule from America's bicentennial year. Holding it, you can imagine the millions of hands it might have passed through, the countless stories it could tell if it could speak. And for those rare examples that survive in perfect condition, untouched by circulation, it's like holding history frozen in time, as fresh and sharp as the day it left the mint. For collectors and enthusiasts, the search for these rare 1976 pennies is about more than building a collection. It's about the adventure, the thrill of discovery, and the stories that coins tell. And when you add in the fact that some of these coins are valued between $5,700 and $122,000, the excitement only grows stronger. That price range isn't just about numbers, it's about possibility, the idea that a small copper coin could hold the power to surprise, inspire, and even change lives. So the next time you come across a 1976 penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it up to the light, examine the details, and think about what you might be looking at. Because while most are worth only 1 cent, a select few are worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. That's the incredible truth about the 1976 penny. It proves that sometimes the most ordinary things can turn out to be extraordinary treasures. And who knows? Maybe the very next penny you pick up will be one of those rare examples, the kind that auctions for $5,700, or perhaps even reaches the staggering figure of $122,000. That's why collectors keep searching, why they never stop looking at every coin closely. Because every pocketful of change holds the possibility of discovery, and every 1976 penny holds the potential to be far more than meets the eye. In the world of American coins, there are certain dates that seem ordinary at first glance but end up holding an incredible story that surprises even the most seasoned collectors. The US 1983 1-cent penny is one of those pieces. Most people would look at it and see just a small copper-colored coin, something they've probably handed over 1,000 times in their life without thinking twice. But the truth is, the 1983 penny has a history and a twist that makes it one of the most fascinating modern coins, especially when errors are involved. And what makes it even more exciting is that this small coin, which many wouldn't bother to pick up off the ground, has been known to sell for an astonishing $50,000 to $115,000 in the right conditions. The story of this coin starts in 1982, a year that was full of change for the penny. Before 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper. But because the rising cost of copper began to exceed the actual face value of the coin, the US Mint made a decision that would change the penny forever. They switched to a composition of 97.5% zinc with just a thin copper coating. This meant that starting in 1982, most pennies were no longer heavy, solid copper coins, but lighter zinc-based coins that only looked like the ones people were used to. Now here's where it gets fascinating. In 1983, the Mint was still in the process of perfecting this transition, and as a result, errors began to appear. And in the world of coin collecting, an error is not a flaw. It's a treasure point. One of the most famous errors tied to the 1983 penny is the double die reverse. This is when the design on the back of the coin, instead of being crisp and clean, shows signs of being stamped more than once in slightly different positions. It creates a doubling effect, which can be seen in details like the lettering or the columns of the Lincoln Memorial. For an everyday spender, this might go unnoticed. But for collectors, this doubling is a sign of rarity, and rarity is the fuel that drives coin values through the roof. A regular 1983 penny might just be worth 1 cent, but a 1983 double die error penny has sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But that's not the only thing that makes the 1983 penny legendary. Some were struck on the wrong planchets, meaning the blank discs that the Mint uses to create coins. Instead of being struck on the lighter zinc planchet, a few 1983 pennies were mistakenly struck on the older copper planchets left over from 1982. These rare survivors weigh more than the typical 2.5 grams of the zinc penny. Instead, they weigh 3.1 grams like the older copper coins. And that tiny difference in weight makes all the difference in value. The copper 1983 penny has become one of the most desired coins among modern collectors, fetching unbelievable amounts at auctions. This is where the numbers get staggering. Values of $50,000 to $115,000 have been realized for some of these rare errors. Now think about that. A coin that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent, produced in the billions, could carry a price tag higher than a luxury car, all because of a mistake during its creation. It's the kind of story that makes collectors dig through their change jars and coin rolls with excitement, hoping they might have one of these rare gems hiding in plain sight. And what makes it even more thrilling is that many of these coins are still out there. They weren't special releases, they weren't hidden away. They were minted, distributed, and spent like any other penny. That means some of these incredibly valuable coins could be sitting in pockets, drawers, or piggy banks right now. The 1983 penny has also become a symbol of how tiny details can mean the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Collectors carefully examine every aspect of the coin: the weight, the strike, the lettering, and the shine. A small doubling of the letters 1 cent on the back, a slightly heavier feel in the hand, or the unusual gleam of copper instead of zinc. These are the clues that can reveal a fortune hidden in plain sight. It's no wonder that stories of these pennies selling for jaw-dropping amounts continue to spread. One collector, after years of searching, found a 1983 copper penny error and sent it in for grading. When it came back certified as genuine, the bidding wars began. The final price? Enough to pay for a new house. Another collector discovered a double die reverse and saw it sell for tens of thousands, turning a coin they once thought was worthless into a life-changing discovery. These stories fuel the excitement, making the hunt for a 1983 error penny one of the most thrilling adventures in modern coin collecting. But beyond the price tags and the rarity, the 1983 penny represents something bigger. It's a reminder of how history, economics, and human error can all collide in the smallest of objects. The mint didn't intend to create these valuable coins. They happened by accident, as a result of a transition from copper to zinc. Yet those very accidents are what make the coins extraordinary today. For collectors, it's a lesson in patience, attention to detail, and the power of small discoveries. Think about it. How many people passed these coins around without knowing what they had? How many were tossed into fountains, dropped on sidewalks, or hidden away in dusty jars? Every time one of these rare 1983 pennies surfaces, it's like uncovering a piece of hidden treasure. And the best part? Anyone could be the next person to find one. That's what keeps collectors and treasure hunters alike so invested. The possibility that a simple coin in your pocket could be worth $50,000 to $115,000 makes every penny worth examining. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, and it transforms something as small as a coin into a story of wealth, luck, and discovery. The 1983 1-cent penny is not just currency. It's a legend in the making. So the next time you're handed change at the store, or you go through an old coin jar, remember this story. That dull-looking penny from 1983 might just be hiding one of the most exciting secrets in American coin history. Could be the difference between a single cent and a small fortune. And that's the magic of coins like the 1983 penny. The 1998 United States 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln penny, is one of those pieces of change most people pass through their hands countless times without giving it much thought. It is small, copper-plated, and seems so ordinary that people rarely stop to study its details. But in the world of coin collecting, the 1998 penny has a hidden story, one that reveals how something as simple as a coin we use every day can turn into a valuable treasure. Some examples of this very penny, struck in huge numbers and circulated across the nation, have stunned collectors by selling for astonishing amounts at auction, fetching prices anywhere between $4,300 and as high as $104,000. To most people, that sounds almost impossible, that a single penny could ever be worth more than a brand new car, or even more than some homes. Yet for those who understand the rarity, condition, and mysteries hidden behind the 1998 Lincoln cent, it becomes clear why these coins can be so valuable. The Lincoln cent series itself is a piece of American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. The design by Victor David Brenner has stood the test of time, with Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and, during 1998, the reverse still showcasing the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in place since 1959. At first glance, there is nothing unusual about a 1998 penny. Millions were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with proof coins struck in San Francisco. Yet hidden among those millions are pieces that collectors pursue relentlessly, coins that carry extraordinary value because of their condition, their unique minting variations, or their rarity in flawless form. Condition is always the first place to look when understanding why some 1998 pennies sell for staggering amounts. Most of these coins were struck for circulation, meaning they immediately went into use in everyday transactions. That means scratches, dings, wear, and loss of luster are inevitable. But in rare cases, coins were preserved with incredible care, never entering circulation, and retained their original brilliance. When submitted to professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC, these coins can achieve grades of mint state 67, 68, or even higher. At those levels, they are almost like time capsules, perfectly preserved examples of a coin minted more than 2 decades ago. For collectors, those coins are prized beyond measure. The competition to own them is fierce, and when one comes to auction, the bidding can drive the price into the tens of thousands. It is within this category of near-perfect condition coins that the incredible values of $4,300 up to $104,000 have been achieved. Beyond condition, the 1998 penny is also famous for its varieties. One of the most well-known is the 1998 wide AM variety, a proof reverse design mistakenly used on some circulation strike coins. Normally, the AM in America on the Lincoln Memorial reverse design is close together, nearly touching. But on the wide AM variety, there is a distinct space between the A and M. It might seem like a tiny difference, something that most people would never notice, but in coin collecting, such details mean everything. The 1998 wide AM penny quickly became one of the most sought-after modern varieties because of its rarity and the excitement of discovering it in pocket change. While many people overlook it, those who know what to look for can find a coin that elevates its value far beyond 1 cent depending on its condition. A 1998 wide AM penny can sell for thousands, and in the finest grades, prices have reached astonishing levels, helping to push certain examples into that upper range of $104,000. This kind of rarity fuels the imagination and excitement among collectors. Think of how many people have handled a 1998 penny, tossing it into a piggy bank or handing it over at a store counter, without ever realizing they might be holding something worth more than their entire paycheck. That possibility, that thrill of the hunt, is what makes modern rarities like the 1998 penny so captivating. People search through rolls of pennies from banks, examine change from grocery stores, and study every coin in their collections, hoping to stumble across one of these hidden treasures. And yes, it has happened. Ordinary people have found 1998 wide AM pennies in circulation and later discovered they were worth thousands. Those stories add fuel to the fire, keeping the search alive and exciting. The design itself tells its own story. On the obverse is Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose leadership preserved the Union during the Civil War. His portrait on the penny is among the most recognized coin images in the world. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design includes a tiny detail that many people miss. If you look closely, you can actually see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. That small detail makes the coin special in its own right, even before considering the varieties like the wide AM. By 1998, the Lincoln Memorial design had been used for nearly 40 years, making it an iconic piece of mid-20th century American coinage. The auction stories surrounding the 1998 penny are what really bring its legendary status to life. Collectors love to compete for rare coins, and when one of these varieties or pristine condition coins appears for bidding, the atmosphere is electric. What starts as a modest opening bid quickly escalates as determined collectors refuse to let the opportunity slip away. Prices rise into the thousands, and before long, the coin sells for tens of thousands, with some of the finest examples reaching that almost unbelievable $104,000 mark. For the collector who wins, the satisfaction is not just about owning a rare coin, but about holding a piece of history, a piece of the minting story that only a handful of people will ever possess. The 1998 penny also teaches an important lesson about value and rarity. Most people assume only coins from centuries ago, or those made of precious metals like gold and silver, can be worth serious money. But the 1998 penny proves that modern coins, even those made of humble copper-plated zinc, can achieve incredible value when the right conditions align. It's about rarity, about tiny differences, about survival in pristine condition. It's about the thrill of discovery and the willingness of collectors to pay extraordinary sums for something that most people overlook. For casual collectors, the 1998 penny is an accessible treasure hunt. Anyone can start by examining their own change, looking closely at the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse, and checking the overall condition of the coin. For those lucky enough to find a wide AM variety or a high-grade example, the reward can be life-changing. And for those who don't find one, the process itself is exciting, turning every handful of coins into a potential adventure. The story of the 1998 penny is one that blends history, design, rarity, and human fascination. It is a reminder that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, that something as simple as a penny can hold a secret capable of astonishing even the most seasoned collector. The next time you come across a 1998 penny, don't dismiss it as just another coin to toss into a jar. Look at it closely, study its details, and consider the possibilities, because while most of them will forever remain worth just 1 cent, a rare few can soar in value, reaching prices between $4,300 and an incredible $104,000. Those rare pieces are proof that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can carry immense value, waiting to be discovered by those who care enough to look.